We're back. Here we are again. It's one thing I noticed in the video that I posted yesterday of how slow my pace seems. And it's interesting posting it on the internet and just, compared to other things that go really fast. I think the difference is that if you're interested in what I'm having to say, you'll sit there and watch it. So I think that's interesting that the not trying to conform, right? Trying to post or make content that other people are going to like this. What this experiment is just me just expressing what's here, and I'll find a cool clip and I'll post it somewhere and just see what happens. So um yeah, so we're back. It's an interesting experience. Had a bout of fear kind of before flipping the camera on, so I was tuning into that. But besides that, the day has been incredible. It's been crazy. There's been what I've come to know as downloads. You may have heard that term before. You may know what that means. But just like wisdom, information that is beyond something you would like read about or pick up. It just pops into your mind, and like all of a sudden you're smarter. So there's been a series of that today, and like you can probably, like, I can feel the energy is so raw that it's like coming out. And so that was the reason for flipping the camera on, is because here we are. And I've been missing this, like the laughter, the giddiness, and we have all these beliefs around how we have to show up for other people, or how we can express ourselves, how we are allowed to express ourselves. If we were to fully express ourselves, here's a really unconscious one. If we were really to express ourselves, the way that other people would react to that. And that was one insight I got today too, actually. This is going back to earlier today, is how much we curate ourselves. And on the surface, like, who cares, right? I'm just flowing with existence around me. But at a certain point, you recognize it's a betrayal of yourself. It's like you're choking off your own life force, like what you're really capable of. And so, yeah, one of the biggest fears is that you'll intrude on other people's, pursuit of happiness, or whatever, you don't want to infringe upon them. And actually, that's one thing I want to get into is like a law or a principle of the universe. It's what karma is, right? What you do unto others comes back to you. It's like a natural law of the universe. I think that's so interesting to think about. Yeah, so the pace is sped up and I've kind of lost the thread here. So that's interesting. So that's a lesson that's happening for a reason. There's no resistance. There's an honoring of it, and an acknowledgement and observation and a witness of it. So what just happened is that when you're creating with the universe and when you're in flow and you're in alignment, your next thought is like, you can hear it in the pace of my voice. The next thought, you're waiting for it to develop, and meanwhile the cadence of your voice that comes out is like confident and sturdy and assuring, and there's no tripping over your words, there's no stuttering. But it's because you're walking with God, as I would say. So yeah, you're flowing and speaking as it comes out. So when the pace speeds up, you kind of lose the alignment, and that's why you lose your train of thought. You're not in alignment with the pace that you should be going. And should be, I use the word should, like there's no judgment, but what it does is it's like a corrective karma. That if you're going too fast, then you get the opposite of rewarded, right? You get unrewarded, unawarded, whatever that word is. If there is a word, let's make it up. Unrewarded, unawarded. I like unawarded. You get unawarded. Maybe that is a word. But because you're not in the flow, you're not. You're, what it really is that you're betraying like your highest vibration, and so it always corrects you. So whenever you do that, you limit yourself. Then you start to fear unconsciously the thing that limits you. You're not even aware that you're afraid to break through that. You're not even aware that it's a limit sometimes. And what this will sound crazy, I trace something back, like a healing, a trauma, to like, well, it makes sense, right? So think of yourself as a baby, and how simple the progression of life is at such a young age. Like when you think of days born, like the biggest accomplishment of a baby's development is like opening their eyes at one point, right? They're sleeping, they open their eyes. Like it brings you such joy that they're looking at you. Think about that. And so what's after that? It's like starting to almost like become aware of its body. Like when at first it's just like spitting and shitting and pissing everywhere. Like it doesn't even know what's going on. It's like some people on a Saturday night, right? um, that's one of the first dad jokes that'll be on here. So, anyways, so the evolution and development of a baby, right? So each step gets like incrementally more. I don't know. There's like more on the line, right? So where was I going with this? See, I'm losing the thread talking too fast. We'll slow it down again. Yeah, being curated. So that is one of the first things that we learn as babies is to curate our emotions, because play that out a little bit as you become aware of yourself, you realize that you have a power, you can express yourself. And the first version of expressing themselves is crying. Some people come out of the womb crying, right? So it's very natural to them, but at a certain point you become aware that you're crying. And it's like the subtle, most softest awareness that something's happening, but it's like the first step of mindfulness is that you know that you're crying. You're in need of something. It's like you don't control the crying, but you want to sleep, you want to eat, you want to, you're angry, you're uncomfortable. That's the first form of like, oh, I can communicate, just whining all over the place. So think of being curated when you're in that state. How many parents do you see that are just frustrated that their baby's crying? I'm here to tell you, as sensitive as a baby is, that baby can feel your frustration. And so that is when it starts to learn, even before that, right? That's what they talk about, like your influence. You can be influenced and affected when you're in the womb by energies that you feel. So feel how subtle this and soft this baby's vibration is. And so it learns to curate its emotions, because at a certain point it realizes, he or she, I'm calling it, but he or she realizes that when I express this emotion for an X period of time, then it creates a negative emotion in my mother and my father. They get upset. And if you think of a baby as pure love, there's this ultimate trust in the universe. It's not intentional, but like they just come out of the womb trusting because they don't have a choice. And the universe has to support them. And so when you realize that what loves you, your mother, what you're so connected to, might be upset because of something that you did, you learn to stop doing that thing. Because you attach love to everything that she does. She is love to you. Therefore, everything that she does must be right. It's loving. And so think of how much power that has over another human being. There's abuse from people who do it intentionally, but even beyond that, 100% of people abuse unintentionally. That's what it is abuse. Let's call it what it is. Now there's no judgment, right? It's sad. It's a fact. It's reality. For not much longer. I'm here to tell you, like, we can work on this stuff. Think about that. As we become aware of how much impact it has, we can figure out how to heal that. So you learn to be curated with how much you express your energy from such a young age. If this is sounding crazy to you, just watch this in a couple of years, because it'll make sense to everybody all the way completely through. It's like I'm getting an early glimpse. This is the download, right? It's something that might sound new or foreign or crazy to the current, consciousness of humanity who might be watching this, but it's like a truth. That's what it feels like to me. That's why I've named my Instagram channel Truth. And I did that 4 years ago, by the way. I didn't think I'd get to a state like this where I was talking like this. So anyways, just really cool. So the curation of yourself. So you can heal that. So think of yourself not being curated. This is what it looks like, just being a weirdo and turning the camera on and talking about shit. But like that realization is so wild because it changes everything depending on where you are and what that means to you. But yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to share some of that. Like, how far in are we here? 10 minutes. That's interesting. Yeah, so today, one of the themes of today was feeling all the way through something really shitty. It did not feel good. It was like, oh, it was a physical pain. It manifested itself physically, but it's like, how I would describe it is like being sick to your stomach, and it like kind of overcomes you. It's like a very sharp, um, like pain. It's like a biting pain, and it almost paralyzes you. Like you got to lay with it. And so that's what I'm realizing about a lot of my emotions. They're just asking me to be with it. Anyways, what I'm learning is we have this drive to feel good all the time. And when we don't feel good, we want to do anything to get back to feeling good. So that's what addictions are, and habits and eating. And it's amazing what we do to get back to a state that we want to be in, because we don't want to go there. We don't want to feel shitty. I'm here to tell you, the more that you're willing to feel shitty and just be with it and trust that there's something on the other side of feeling through it, man, game changer. Game changer. It's like it needs to be expressed. Like it's a part of processing that which you don't process. We have to be like a human being processor, like a body processor. We have to let emotions just go through our bodies, because the natural state of that is really easy and effortless. But like when it's been stacked up over a lifetime of fears and guilts and shames, it just like adds up so much. It's almost like a big bowl of spaghetti, and you're like trying to make sense of it without a fork or any utensils. Like you want to organize it, and it's just like there's no way. So that's what I would say to people. Go one at a time. The universe gives you what you should focus on that day. That's why if you fuck up or like you miss something, there's so much that comes at you. Like, don't be hard on yourself. There's so many opportunities that come, you know, every day, every half day or more, especially depending on your interactions with other humans. But that's the next thing I want to talk about is how much of a mirror nature is for you. Um, yeah, you want to know where your vibration is, or how far along are you, or how high your conscious is. Go for a few consistent walks in nature, and you'll know if you got bugs flying around you, and it's, you know, maybe you see a snake out there and it scares you. Maybe animals kind of make you feel threatened. Maybe you're tripping over roots and stuff. Those are all signs. Those are all things that are reflecting your energy. It's so cool. It's not that cool when you experience it. It's freaking terrible. I spent many a walk in the woods tripping all over myself with bugs flying around me. But anyways, the higher your consciousness goes, you walk through nature and like you notice how organized bees are, or you got like a perfectly straight line of ants that are just working all together. You'll get an animal, like a rare animal, a fox will just like come out and just like look at you, and you just think of like how beautiful it is just to be a part of something like that. Um, Birds flying overhead, just like anything simple, they just take the time to appreciate it. But it's like acknowledging you and your energy. And even people are like that. So think of the people that are in your life, and then, you know, it's probably reflecting back your vibration. So yeah, it's cool that the universe is a mirror to what we see and feel and experience. I mean, it's literally the law of attraction. That's what that is. That your vibration is attracting its like back to it. And it works in opposite directions too. I mentioned like being curated. So the universe has its natural curation process. If you're, oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. If you're impeding on somebody else's free will is the name of the game. Wherever you are experiencing yourself trapped from exercising or expressing your free will, that's an opportunity. Wherever you feel yourself limiting other people's free will, that's an opportunity. If you focus on those two things, one or the other, and just think, if you have the lens to think about things like that, then it's a game changer for you. So you stop arguing with people, you stop manipulating them, you stop trying to wrangle the world into what you want from it. You stop having an angle with people, relationships, needing things from them. Yeah, you arrive at this place of balance. That's what I would call it. It's like an energetic spiritual balance. Anybody who thinks this isn't crazy or wants to know more about this, check out Aaron Abke videos. His last name is Abke. He's been through some stuff in his life, and he's arrived at a lot of higher conclusions. And anyways, yeah, he's somebody who's opened my mind to a lot of the way of thinking about things. Was a real catalyst to my discoveries. But yeah, there's other stuff out there. The wild world. The more truth that you see, the more that you don't really want to deal with the untruths anymore. Blessing and a curse. I mean, it's really good, but you start to see how many curses there are, and you start to realize I gotta love every one of them. And love every one of them. Start working on why you can't. Start asking yourself why you can't. What if we were on vacation? What if we had this stellar vibration of just a purity? We're just out in nature and like a new experience, something completely broken off from our patterns. Even the people are new. Even the people that you know, they're acting kind of different and new. You've never seen them like that before. They're in their own unique vibration and their own in it, and it's kind of given you permission to even own yours more. And yeah, you just look around and you notice the food is pure from the earth. The water is like glacial water. The sun is out, or the weather is like perfect. Birds are chirping, nature's out, and you're just on a beach with beautiful people inside and out, and you're just loving life. And to be able to feel what it feels like when you feel that, the key is to be able to feel that before you experience it. And you can do that by just simply being and sitting and seeing what prevents you from getting there from here. What beliefs do you have that prevent you from believing that you can have that vibration for an extended period of time? You can have it right now. Nothing. There's nothing stopping you. Well, this is getting crazy here. Things are happening. I feel, I don't know if this is just me, but just kind of really connected right now. I think, I want to talk about this. Let's get crazier. Astrology. What I think is interesting about astrology is that if it's not real, it gives you like an excuse to like believe in the fairy tale of it. I think that's really interesting. All of these planets are like archetypes. So they have different energies. I don't even really know them that well, to be honest, but like, let's come up with some ideas here, some examples. Like Uranus is the planet of transformation, and usually by way of like the underworld, as they say, or like your unconscious mind. How about Pluto? Pluto is the underworld. It's whenever it's like in an aspect of the sky that's beneficial, it means like something, you're going to realize something about yourself that you need to realize. And whenever it's in a spot in the sky that kind of gives you bad energies, is the way that I understand it. If it's conjunct, if you will, it just means that like it's going to be hard. There's going to be challenges with it. So all you do, like, the reason I think it's fun and cool is because if you get tipped off that something like that's coming, then you just ease into it. And like it's part of like the energies that you're feeling, and you're supposed to feel whatever the sky is aligning for you to feel. Um, so, there's a lot of belief right now that there's some major astrological things happening. And I give an example, and let's just test the theory out, right? So I follow a whole bunch of social media accounts that talk about, oh, this astrology is coming, so this is what you could expect. And like, half of them post to get views or to be shocking, but I look for themes or things that people are picking up on. I try to detect if it's just one major account and then like everybody else hops on board. But people express it in different ways. They all have their own different interpretation of it. And so you can pick up threads that are what they're trying to express when they say it. And so in that sense, it's almost like you know what to look for. So anyways, even if that is all not true, it's kind of interesting to go into like a weekend, for example. Well, let's talk about this. So there's allegedly, there really is a full moon happening on Friday. And so the threads that I've picked up on are that it's kind of like a very, not divisive, but it's like it's either this or it's that. And it's going to be like intense in a way that it's like divine, like blowing your mind good, or like shockingly not bad, but like shockingly shocking. Like, oh my God, like what? Like I have to deal with this now, or like, is that a real thing? And so like, depending on, I believe the work that you've done or how jammed up your energy systems are, if you've been doing the work and it's clear, then you're in alignment with like, yeah, it's almost like your mind is trained to look for the good and to be attracted to the good part of it. So anyways, this is a full moon that's coming up, so we'll see about that. And then 4 days later is one of the biggest transits that I've heard about since I started, following or paying attention to this, is that Pluto is moving. Let me see if I can get this right. Out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. That's happening on the 19th? No. When's the full moon? Yeah, the 19th. So it's supposed to be this monumental big shift. This planet's like the furthest planet. It was removed from being a planet, right? Like, so how does this have this impact? Well, where it is in the sky, it's been in this this same field of view in relation to where we are for the last 18 years, 16 years. That's what they say, 18 years, right? And so because of our perspectives in the sky, it's going into the next phase for the next 20 years. And so with all the archetypes that connect, so Pluto being unconscious mind, it's going from Capricorn. I don't know the signs as well. I haven't really picked up on that yet, but Capricorn is like a very, I don't know. It's supposed to have been a time filled with like challenges or like, not challenges, but like realizations that are just tough to come to. And it's going into this next, apparently in Aquarius, it's supposed to feel so different. It's supposed to be Pluto's energy represented differently through this other energy. So it's almost like Capricorn was expressing it. So go look up a Capricorn, like however Capricorns are expressed. And now Pluto subconscious energy is being expressed through Aquarius, which is an air sign, I think. Anyways, maybe I'll get comments because I'm so wrong on this, but I just think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to learn and to follow it, to start to understand what it is that they're saying. It feels like they're making it up half the time, but it's interesting to me is my takeaway from it. So yeah, astrology, man. Why did I bring that up? I just think it's cool. Yeah, and then so the most basic part of astrology you can try to understand is your sign, right? Like, what's your sign? So what I think that is, or what I've come to know that to mean, is you are the expression of source energy, of God energy that lives in you by way of the archetype of that energy. right? And there's water signs, and there's fire signs, and there's earth signs, and there's water signs. Did I repeat one? Fire, earth, water, wind, earth. No, sky. Fire, earth, wind, water. Wind, air, air. Fire, air, water, earth. Oh my gosh. Fire, air, water, earth. And then there are X number of transmutable, fixed, and I'm going to purposely leave out the third one just so someone comments about it. Um, Anyways, they all mean different things. Yeah, so there's three main signs about you. There's your main sign, and again, I could use some help. There's a moon sign, which is how you express your emotions. And then there's a rising sign, which is how you almost like how you like to be identified, or what the way that you express consciously. So what I think happens is that we strip away, like the first one is our ego, and then the moon part of us, like the softer side, is our actual expression. Now that is probably wrong. That was just like something that I'm taking a stab at. But anyways, they mean different things, right? So fire means obviously you're fiery. You have this fire energy. Water signs mean that you're like emotional and soft. Like that's where your strength is, right? So if you embrace that about yourself, then you magnify it, and it's like your gift. It's like your gift. And so if people are having trouble, like, okay, well, if I'm not this, if I'm not this, if I'm not this, if I'm not a coach, if I'm not a hockey player, if I'm not an athlete, if I'm not a dad, who am I? You strip everything away. You're the expression of that energy in that form. That's the way I think of it. So anyways, the more I think about that and how accurate that might be for me, right? The more stock I put into it, the more I pay attention to it and see if it's true and like test it out. All three of my signs are water signs. So like Pisces with a Scorpio moon. No. Scorpio rising. And the other moon. What's the third water sign? Man, I'm like in over my head with the astrology here. I can get this. Where's my phone? I think it's in the other room. Let's see if we can maybe we're going too fast. We'll test that theory out again. I'll slow back down. Pisces. Cancer. I'm a Cancer moon and a Scorpio rising. So triple water. So that means like I'm emotional. Like my natural energy is emotional. The energy that I express myself through is emotional. And my soft side is emotional. So that explains, I've spent a lot of my life like competing and like being assertive, and not that you can't be assertive or compete in those signs, but the strength comes from like the solitude and the quietness, and not to be like a hermit, but like to be the embodiment of that and to express it, and to own it. So when everything else is stripped away, so I'm a triple water. So a lot of my path has been like feeling my emotions, and that's part of my gift, is to be able to be soft and feel like that. So I don't know, my progression has seemed to hit a pace to where I'm getting into a rhythm and a flow like that, and things are like starting to happen, like these synchronicities and like these alignments, and like meeting the right person at the right time, feeling good for no reason, and then feeling bad for no reason, and then being okay with it, not judging it and sitting with it. And all of a sudden there's like, wow, how active am I in the present moment? That's what people are talking about. Man, it's really hard to get to. The matrix will get you. Social media will get you. There are so many toxic temptations out there. Never has there been a time in human history where there's been more toxic temptations. And what does that tell you? Never before in human history has there been such an opportunity that if you overcome them, how great your life can be. Just learn why you're tempted. What do you want out of that relationship with that thing, that pornography, that food, that relationship? Like, what do you want out of that? Why do you want it so badly? That fame, that fortune. Why do you want these things? What do you think you're going to have when you get them? Yeah. Sit with yourself through all that, and you'll come to these conclusions to where higher levels of truth just start to ooze out of you, and you start to care, not care what other people think. You start to realize that the more that you embody the truth, the more that you're called upon to express it and to hold the line and to reflect back to people their they're veering off the truth, right? And so if they're projecting onto you, or if they're not in their truth and you feel it, call them out on it. Not in a way that's an altercation, but just from a truthful place, to where when they hear you calling them out, they like pause in their tracks. Like, oh yeah, he's right. So you reach them, it's like you reach them up to where they need to be. They might be down here. You don't like judge that or make fun of it or take advantage of that, but you call them from up here to get them up here with you. And if you do that in a compassionate way, that's where your power is, to be able to bring other people up. Anyways, we're going to start to wrap here. This has been fun to get into, and we had some props and some costumes, just playing around. Conversation number 2. This is number 2. What's number 7 going to look like? Stick around.